If today was the last 24 hours of your life, what would you finally stop delaying? What dream would you finally chase? What apology would you finally give? What habit would you finally break? Close your eyes for a moment and feel the weight of that question. Because the truth is, most people don't live. They wait. They wait for the right mood, the right moment, the right energy, the right opportunity. They keep postponing their own greatness like they have all the time in the world, unaware that every sunrise is a countdown and every night is a reminder that another day has been used up. We walk through life like tomorrow is guaranteed. We behave as if the calendar owes us another chance. But life never promised you more time. Life never signed a contract saying it would wait for you to be ready. Look around you. Every dream that died, every regret that hurts, every opportunity that slipped away is a result of one simple lie we keep telling ourselves. I'll do it later. And that lie is killing more dreams than failure ever will. Think about how many times you said tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll change. Tomorrow I'll try. But tomorrow never shows up for the people who depend on someday. It only shows up for the people who act today. And that is the brutal, beautiful truth. You are one decision away from a completely different life. But that decision must happen now, not eventually. Imagine someone you admire, someone fearless, someone disciplined, someone powerful. They aren't superhuman. They aren't lucky. They simply refuse to waste the only currency that matters, time. They know that every second is either building your future or destroying it. Every minute is either pushing you forward or pulling you backwards. Every hour is a choice, grow or stay the same. Now picture this, a clock on the wall with the numbers fading, the hands spinning faster than they should. That is your life. That is my life. That is every human being's life. You don't get to slow the clock down. You don't get to pause it. You don't get to rewind it. The only thing you can do is use it, intentionally, passionately, urgently. And the moment you grasp this, the moment it sinks into your spirit, something inside you awakens. Something shifts. Something breaks free. Because deep down you already know you were made for more. You felt it. In the silence, in the frustration, in the late-night moments where you look at your life and whisper, I can do better than this. That whisper is not a weakness, it's your future calling your name. It's your potential pounding on the door. It's your destiny saying, get up, move, do something, stop wasting the fire inside you. You were not born to live a recycled day over and over. You were not created just to exist, to survive, to get through the week. You were built with purpose. You were designed with genius. You were shaped with intention. But potential means nothing if you don't use it. Passion means nothing if you don't act on it. Dreams mean nothing if they never leave your mind and enter your life. So ask yourself, what if for the next 24 hours you lived with the urgency you've always avoided? What if you stopped doubting, stopped hesitating, stopped allowing fear to negotiate with your future? What if you finally stepped into the version of yourself you keep imagining but never becoming? Because someone out there with half your talent is winning with twice your discipline. Someone with less opportunity is climbing higher because they refuse to waste another day. Someone with fewer resources is building a life you envy because they decided that excuses would no longer control them. And you can make that same decision right now. This day, this hour, this moment is your turning point. This is the moment where sleepwalking ends and living begins. This is where the old you dies and the new you steps forward, the version of you who acts, the version of you who decides, the version of you who doesn't wait for permission, motivation, or miracles. The version of you who understands that you don't need more time, you need more urgency. Your next 24 hours can rewrite everything, and they begin now. We live our lives trapped inside the greatest illusion ever created, the illusion of time. We walk around as if there is an endless supply of tomorrows waiting for us, stacked neatly on a shelf, ready to be used whenever we finally decide to change. We convince ourselves that there is always later, always another chance, always one more day. But this illusion is so powerful, so deceptive, that people spend their entire lives postponing their dreams until there's nothing left to postpone. And the tragedy is, they don't even realize what they're losing until it's gone. Think about it. How many times have you held back from doing something important because you thought you had more time? How often have you said, "I'll start next week," even though deep down you knew you were lying to yourself? How many times have you waited for motivation, waited for clarity, waited for the moment to be perfect, as if your life was a rehearsal and real living would start someday in the future? We waste time not because we have too little of it, but because we believe we have too much. That is the psychological trap. The human mind protects us from discomfort by convincing us that the future is a safe place to store our dreams. It whispers, "You don't have to face this today, you can do it tomorrow." And because it feels comforting, we believe it. But here's the truth. Tomorrow is the biggest thief you will ever meet. Every time you say later, tomorrow steals a piece of your potential. Every time you postpone action, tomorrow steals a piece of your confidence. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, tomorrow steals a piece of the life you could have lived. And the cruel part, you don't even feel the loss, until one day you wake up and realize that your opportunities have expired, your dreams have faded, and your younger self, the one full of fire and ambition, is gone. Look at the people around you. You can see it in their eyes, the quiet disappointment, the buried frustration, the dreams they once had but never pursued. They didn't fail because they weren't capable. They failed because they ran out of time while believing they had more. They underestimated the cost of procrastination. And that cost is always higher than we think. Time is not something you have. Time is something you use. Every hour is a decision. Every minute is a vote for the person you want to become. Every second is either strengthening your future or destroying it. But most people never grasp this because they're trapped in routine, numb to urgency, hypnotized by comfort. They don't realize they're wasting the most precious resource they'll ever own. And here is the painful truth. Life is short, not because the years are few, but because the years pass unnoticed. One day blends into the next. Goals become wishes, dreams become memories, and slowly, quietly, we lose ourselves, not all at once, but one delayed intention at a time. But you, right now, you have a choice. You can break this illusion. You can wake up from the trance of someday. You can rip away the lie that there's always more time. Because the moment you understand how fragile and limited your time truly is, everything changes. Your priorities shift. Your energy rises. Your focus sharpens. Suddenly you stop caring about distractions, drama, excuses, and opinions. You start caring about progress. You start caring about discipline. You start caring about the life you were meant to live. People who change their lives don't have more time than you. They just stopped wasting the time they had. They realize that the pain of staying the same is far greater than the pain of making a change. They realize that their dreams weren't waiting. They were disappearing. And they refuse to let another day slip through their fingers. You want to know why some people succeed while others stay stuck? Because successful people treat time like oxygen. They protect it. They value it. They don't gamble with it. They don't wait for miracles. They create them. They don't wait for the right moment. They make the moment right. They understand that every day is a limited, irreplaceable chance to build the life they desire. And so, I ask you, how many more days will you let slip away? How many more dreams will you delay? How much longer will you let the illusion of time convince you to settle for less than you're capable of? Because once you see the truth, once you understand that time is slipping whether you act or not, you will change, you will move, you will rise. You will stop living like you have unlimited tomorrows, and start living like today is the only chance that truly matters. And that is where transformation begins. Life is not a collection of years. It is not a long, stretching timeline of decades that we get to plan and organize like we're assembling a puzzle with no deadline. Life is a chain made of single days, 24-hour windows that come once and never return. And yet, we act as if our dreams live somewhere far away, waiting for us in the distant future. But they don't. Everything you want, everything you're chasing, everything you're capable of, It all exists inside the choices you make today, not next month, not next year, not when things calm down. Today, right now, in these next 24 hours that you have complete control over. We overestimate the power of tomorrow and underestimate the power of now. We think change requires a monumental event, a massive breakthrough, some perfect alignment of luck and opportunity. But the world doesn't change in years. The world changes in days. Your habits, your mindset, your discipline, your direction, these are forged in the routine moments of a single day. Right here, right now. This is where your future is being built. The truth is, your entire life exists within a 24-hour cycle. Yesterday is gone. It's a memory, a story that can't be rewritten. Tomorrow isn't real. It's an idea, a possibility that may or may not come. But today is a battlefield you can win. Today is a canvas you can paint. Today is a vote for the person you want to become. Today is the only thing that belongs to you completely. Think about that for a moment. Everything else is outside your control. Time past is unreachable. Time ahead is unpredictable. The only territory you can dominate is the next 24 hours, and once you truly understand that, you stop waiting for the right moment, and you start creating it. Most people never change their lives because they look too far ahead. They stare at the mountain instead of taking the next step. They drown in the weight of forever instead of focusing on the power of today. But champions, people who break cycles, who achieve greatness, who rise from nothing, they live by a simple rule: win the day, just one day. Then repeat, because here's the secret: you don't need to fix your entire life at once. You just need to own the next 24 hours with intention, focus, and purpose. You don't need to become the strongest, smartest, most disciplined version of yourself overnight. You just need to act like the best version of yourself today. When you do that today, and again tomorrow, and again the next day, the world changes. Not because you made one huge leap, but because you made steady, unstoppable progress. Your dreams are not built on motivation. They're built on daily action. Small choices done consistently, ordinary decisions done with extraordinary commitment, waking up with a goal, going to bed with pride. This is the 24-hour rule. This is where everything begins. And imagine how different your life becomes when you treat each day like a mission. You stop waking up like a spectator and start waking up like a creator. You stop sacrificing your time to distractions and start investing it into your purpose. You stop living passively and start living deliberately. You begin to realize that every hour counts, every decision counts, every moment counts, because your time is not a tool, it's a weapon. And when you use it correctly, you become unstoppable. Think about the version of you who is successful, disciplined, confident, focused. That version doesn't exist in the future. It is created in the next 24 hours. Every choice you make today either pulls you closer to that identity or pushes you further away. And the beautiful thing is, you get to choose. You get to decide who you are becoming by deciding how you live the day right in front of you. So ask yourself, if this was the day everything changed, how would you act? If this was the day your future self looked back on and said, that was the turning point, what decisions would you make? If this was the day your story shifted from hesitation to action, from doubt to confidence, from average to exceptional, what would you do differently? Because that day can be today. That moment can be now. The next 24 hours can be the first chapter of the life you've always imagined. All it takes is commitment. All it takes is courage. All it takes is the decision to live this day with the intensity and purpose your dreams deserve. Today is everything, and this is your moment to claim it. There comes a moment in every person's life when everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, not because luck arrives, not because circumstances magically improve, but because of one decision, one single choice that cuts through years of doubt, distraction, and delay. One decision that says, enough. This is where my old life ends and my new life begins. People underestimate the power of a decision because they think transformation requires a miracle. They think they need perfect timing or perfect conditions or a perfectly clear path. But the greatest breakthroughs rarely start with clarity. They start with courage. They start with a person who finally decides to stop negotiating with excuses and start moving with purpose. Think about it. Every success story you admire begins with a moment, just one, where someone said, "I can't live like this anymore." That moment didn't fix everything immediately. It didn't erase all obstacles. But it changed their direction. And when direction changes, destiny changes. One decision can break a bad habit. One decision can start a routine that shifts your identity. One decision can silence the voice in your head telling you to wait, to fear, to play small. One decision can open doors you didn't even know existed. The power of a decision is not in its size, but in its commitment. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your decisions, and your decisions shape your discipline, your actions, your character. Your decisions become your life. Some people make decisions based on comfort. They choose what feels good, what feels safe, what feels familiar. And because comfort is their compass, they stay exactly where they are. Days pass, weeks pass, years pass, and their life never changes because their decisions never change. But the people who rise, the people who transform, they make decisions based on who they want to become, not how they feel in the moment. They understand that feelings are temporary, but identity is permanent. So they choose discipline over comfort, purpose over pleasure, growth over excuses, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Imagine two versions of you standing side by side. One is the person you are right now, shaped by hesitation, habits, fears, routines. The other is the person you could become, stronger, more focused, more disciplined, more successful. What separates those two versions? Not talent, not luck, not intelligence, a decision. One, single, decision, a decision to start, a decision to commit, a decision to take the first uncomfortable step without having the whole path figured out. You don't need to know how everything will play out. You just need to decide that it will. There is a psychological phenomenon called identity confirmation. The brain seeks consistency between who you believe you are and how you behave. So when you decide, truly decide, to become someone new, your actions begin to shift automatically. You take steps your old self would never take. Your mind starts rejecting behaviors that don't match your new identity. Your standards rise. Your expectations rise. Your effort rises. And slowly, powerfully, you become the person your decision demanded you to be. That's why one decision changes everything. It's not about the action. It's about the identity it awakens. Think of the moments in your life when you finally acted. You quit something toxic. You started something meaningful. You walked away from excuses. You chose growth. Every time, it wasn't because you felt ready. It was because you decided you were done with who you used to be. And that's exactly what can happen today, in this moment, right now. Because the truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've known for a long time. You've felt the calling. You've heard the whisper telling you to rise, to change, to step into your potential. You just haven't made the decision yet. You've been thinking, you've been planning, you've been wishing, but you haven't decided. And thinking is not deciding. Wishing is not deciding. Planning is not deciding. Only action proves a decision. So ask yourself, what decision have you been avoiding? What choice would instantly change your direction if you had the courage to make it? What part of your life is waiting for you to say, this ends now, or this begins now? Because the moment you decide, truly decide, your life will shift. Not someday, not gradually. Instantly, the energy changes, the mindset changes, the momentum changes. This is that moment. This is your decision point. This is where you stop dreaming about the life you want and start choosing it. One decision, one moment, one turning point. Make it now. Every person has two versions of themselves living inside their mind, the one who dreams and the one who resists. The dreamer inside you wants growth, wants progress, wants success, but the resistance inside you, quiet, clever, persistent, wants comfort. And comfort is the enemy of change. That inner resistance is not loud, it doesn't scream at you. It whispers. It whispers excuses that sound reasonable. It whispers fears that feel protective. It whispers delays that feel harmless. But those whispers are powerful enough to steal your destiny if you don't learn to recognize them. Inner resistance shows up every time you try to rise, every time you think about improving your life, every time you imagine a better future, every time you say to yourself, I should start today. That small internal voice responds with, not now, maybe later. It convinces you that you're tired, that you're not ready, that you're not good enough yet, that you need more clarity, more confidence, more time. And you believe it, not because it's true, but because it's comfortable. The human mind is wired to seek safety, not success. And to your brain, anything unfamiliar looks dangerous, even if it's good for you. That's why starting feels scary. That's why discipline feels uncomfortable. That's why growth feels painful. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're human. And every human has to battle their inner resistance before they ever get to experience transformation. Look back at your life. How many times did you decide to change, only to fall back into the same patterns? How many times did you promise yourself you'd start a new habit, only to quit after the first sign of discomfort? How many times did you try to step forward, only to be pulled back by the same doubts, the same fears, the same excuses? This is not a coincidence. This is a pattern, and it's time to break it. Inner resistance is not the real enemy. The real enemy is allowing that resistance to control your actions. The moment you give resistance power, you lose momentum. You lose confidence. You lose the opportunity to grow. And the more you obey that voice, the stronger it becomes. It trains you to settle. It trains you to wait. It trains you to accept a life far smaller than the one you're capable of living. But here's the truth most people never understand. Resistance is strongest right before a breakthrough. When you're about to level up, when you're about to build discipline, when you're about to make progress, your mind panics. It throws fear at you because it senses change. And the mind hates change. It wants you to remain predictable, familiar, manageable. So it tries to stop you. But that fear, that discomfort, it's not a sign that you should quit. It's a sign that you're on the right path. Pain is not the barrier, it's the doorway. Growth begins where comfort ends. Every transformation you admire began with a person who was willing to be uncomfortable long enough to break free from their old patterns. Because when you push through resistance, something powerful happens. Your mind learns that discomfort is survivable. Your self-respect rises. Your discipline strengthens. Your identity elevates. And resistance loses its grip on you. Think about this. Every great athlete, every successful entrepreneur, every powerful leader has battled the same internal war you're facing. They weren't born fearless. They weren't handed discipline. They weren't gifted confidence. They built it by refusing to obey the lazy, fearful, doubtful voice inside them. They acted despite resistance, and every time they did, resistance grew weaker and they grew stronger. You have that same ability. The only difference between the person you are and the person you want to become is your relationship with resistance. Stop waiting to feel ready. You won't. Stop waiting for fear to disappear. It won't. Stop waiting for motivation to magically arrive. It never does. What arrives is clarity, confidence, and power. After you take action, not before. The breakthrough you want is on the other side of discomfort. The discipline you crave is on the other side of excuses. The confidence you long for is on the other side of doing what your inner resistance tells you to avoid. So the next time that voice whispers, not today, answer with action. The next time it tells you, you can't, show it that you can. The next time it tries to trap you in the same cycle, break it with one bold, uncomfortable step. Because you are stronger than your resistance, braver than your fear, and far more capable than your excuses want you to believe. This is the moment you take back control. This is the moment you break the cycle. This is the moment resistance loses and you rise. Momentum is the force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not intelligence. Momentum is built through consistent movement, small steps that compound into extraordinary transformation. Most people fail not because they aren't capable, but because they keep stopping and starting, losing the momentum that could have made them unstoppable. They underestimate the power of doing just a little bit, every single day. They think progress must be dramatic, overwhelming, impressive. But the truth is, greatness is not created in giant leaps. It's sculpted through tiny wins that stack on top of each other until they carry you forward like a wave you can no longer slow down. Imagine pushing a heavy boulder at the bottom of a hill. At first it barely moves. You lean your whole body weight into it, but it resists. It feels impossible. That's what the beginning of every journey feels like. Heavy, slow, frustrating. But if you keep pushing inch by inch, the boulder starts to shift, and once it moves it becomes easier to push again, and again, and again. Suddenly that same boulder that felt immovable begins to roll on its own. That's momentum. And once you have it, everything becomes easier. Momentum doesn't care about perfection and only cares about consistency. One small action repeated daily is more powerful than 10 big actions repeated rarely. You don't need to transform your life overnight. You just need to make today slightly better than yesterday. You need to choose progress over paralysis. You need to choose forward over fear, because momentum loves movement, and movement creates power. But here's the real psychology behind momentum. Every time you take a small step, you change the way you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wishes and start seeing yourself as someone who works. You stop being a spectator in your own life and start being the creator of your future. Those small steps build self-respect, and self-respect builds discipline, and discipline builds an identity that refuses to quit. Most people never build momentum because they wait for motivation, they wait for energy, they wait for the perfect moment to begin. But momentum isn't built through emotions, it's built through decisions. You don't need to feel inspired to take the first step, you just need to take it. Motivation will meet you after you start, not before. That's the secret. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Think about the times in your life when you were on fire, when everything seemed to flow, when you were consistent, when you felt unstoppable. It wasn't because the world was easier. It was because you had momentum. You showed up again and again until your effort became a habit. And once it became a habit, it became effortless. That's what you must rebuild. That's what you must protect. Momentum is fragile in the beginning. One day skipped becomes two. Two becomes a week becomes a month. And suddenly, you're back at zero. That's why consistency is your greatest weapon. Even the smallest step forward keeps momentum alive. Even a 5-minute effort keeps you in motion. Even one disciplined action keeps your identity aligned with your goals. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is never stopping. And let me be honest with you. You are capable of extraordinary momentum. But you must stop underestimating the power of doing something small every day. Wake up 5 minutes earlier, read 1 page, do 10 push-ups, write 1 paragraph. Take 1 step outside your comfort zone. These actions seem tiny, but they are seeds. Seeds grow roots. Roots hold you steady. And what grows from that becomes unshakable. When you build momentum, your mind changes, your energy changes, your confidence changes. You start to expect more from yourself. You start to push harder. You start to rise higher. You start to attract opportunities you never could have imagined. People look at successful individuals and assume they must have some special advantage, but the truth is painfully simple. They didn't stop. They kept moving. They honored their momentum. They protected it with everything they had. And now it's your turn. Your momentum begins the moment you choose movement over hesitation, the moment you do something, anything, that aligns with the life you want, the moment you stop waiting for the perfect time and start creating the perfect conditions through action. You don't need massive steps. You just need consistent ones. Because small steps done daily create massive results over time. That is how lives change. That is how identities evolve. That is how success is built. Momentum is your superpower. Start building it today. There comes a moment in every life when you stop asking, "How do I change?" and you finally ask the real question, "Who must I become?" That moment, right there, is the beginning of your identity shift. It's the instant you realize that success isn't created by motivation alone, or by wishing you were stronger, or by trying to copy someone else's habits. Success is born the moment you decide to transform the core identity that drives every thought, every action, and every choice you make. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity, and if you want to change your life, you cannot keep showing up as the older version of yourself. That version made you survive, but it will not help you rise. Think about the person you admire most, the version of you that exists in your imagination, that person who wakes up with purpose, that person who speaks with confidence, that person who acts boldly, who doesn't run from fear, who doesn't hesitate when opportunities appear. That higher version of you is not a fantasy. It's a blueprint, a call, a future self reaching back through time saying, "If you step into me, your whole life will shift." The difference between who you are and who you want to be is nothing but one courageous decision repeated again and again. The decision to identify as your future self, even when the world still sees you as your past. Most people wait. They wait for confidence, wait for clarity, wait for proof. They think they need results before they can call themselves disciplined or responsible or successful. But that's a trap. You do not wait for proof. You create proof. You do not wait to feel ready. You act your way into readiness. Your identity changes the moment you behave like the person you admire, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your mind resists, even when your old habits scream for you to return to who you were. Because the most powerful transformation in the world happens quietly between you and your own reflection. Picture this. Every day you make hundreds of tiny choices that either reinforce your past identity or build your future one. When you choose discipline over distraction, you say, "I am the kind of person who follows through." When you choose progress over perfection, you say, "I am the kind of person who grows, not the kind who hides." When you choose courage over comfort, you say, "I am the kind of person who leads my life, not the kind who lets life lead me." Identity isn't shaped by big dramatic moments. It's shaped by consistent, decisive action. The identity you want is built one choice at a time. And yes, it will feel strange at first. Becoming the person you admire means letting go of versions of yourself you've known for years. It might hurt because growth always requires sacrifice. You will outgrow excuses. You will outgrow certain behaviors. You will outgrow environments that no longer match your destiny. And sometimes you will even outgrow people, not because they are bad, but because your path is different. You cannot become your future self if you keep shrinking to fit your past surroundings. Let yourself rise, even if it means rising alone for a while. The truth is, the only limits that ever truly held you back were the ones you accepted. The voice that said, "You're not enough," was never your voice, it was learned. The fear that told you to stay small was never your belief, it was inherited. And the doubt that whispered you would fail was never reality, it was your old identity trying to survive. But you're not here to survive anymore. You're here to become someone powerful, someone intentional, someone aligned. You're here to rewrite the story you live in. So today, right now, you choose. Not motivation, not hype, identity. You choose to embody the strongest, boldest, most capable version of yourself. You choose to speak like them, act like them, think like them, even before the world believes it, even before results show up. That is how every great transformation begins, by becoming the person you admire internally, long before anyone recognizes it externally. Because once you shift your identity, everything else follows. Habits change, decisions change, relationships change, standards change, and most importantly, your destiny changes. The life you dream of doesn't belong to someone better than you. It belongs to the you that you haven't fully stepped into yet. So step into them, right now. Don't wait for permission, don't wait for the perfect moment. The future version of you is waiting, and they are ready to take over. Let that identity lead. This is your evolution, this is your moment. Become the person you admire, and watch your entire world transform around you.